And first of all, to clear up some misunderstandings, it has a horse on the front. It doesn't mean it's made from horses.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Just to keep that, to make that clear.
Hey guys, we are here with Reiner from Renia, and we are going to be going over the Top Fit solvent-based
Yes.
neoprene
Adhesive. Very good. Lots of complicated words. Okay, so, and first of all, to clear up some misunderstandings, it has a horse on the front. It doesn't mean it's made from horses.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Just to keep that, to make that clear.
Do you use any animal products in your?
The serious answer though, we get that question. Are your products vegan? There's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is pretty much everything is synthetic. With one exception, the 3D filler has leather dust in there, which is obviously an animal product. Now the long answer, what does synthetic mean?
Right.
Synthetic means oil-based.
Yeah.
What is oil? Mineral oil, fossil fuel coming out of the earth, and the way that originated is millions and millions of tiny microorganisms decomposing over millions of years and turning into oil. So is oil vegan? We'll leave that to
we'll let you guys figure that
We'll let you figure that out.
You can. No, that is definitely a question. I mean, we also, we get the whole, like, do you have any vegan leather? And I'm like, are cows eat grass?
Right. So second grade vegan. Yeah. The same. I mean, it is a serious topic. So cruelty free. Same question. So are your products cruelty free? We do not do any animal testing, right? We wouldn't even be equipped for that. We don't have to do that. And it's something that most people don't know. Every single basic chemical, hazardous or not, has to be animal tested by law. That's how it is, because that is how.
What does that mean?
So if you look at an SDS sheet, I mean, that's more of a professional thing. That's not something that consumers typically look at. But if you look at the material safety data sheet of a product, you will find values like the LD50, lethal dose 50. So
how much can you consume before it kills you?
Well, how much could a rat or a rabbit or something consume before it kills 50% of the given population?
Okay.
And those values have to be measured in some way. Because that way it is measured, is a product hazardous for humans or not? Can it be used safely? That is the idea there. It's not, well, we like torturing animals.
Right.
Of course not. Nobody does that. But it is a safety measure in this case.
And it's required by law.
It is required by law. And you cannot get any basic chemicals anywhere that have not undergone that process. It's just the state of the art. I mean, it would be great if you could do it on bacteria or something, but just how it is.
Well, that's really interesting to know. That's information that I didn't have. So that's very awesome.
But back to the product at hand. So
back to topic.
Back to topic.
The non-horse
right, the non-horse glue. So our Top Fit, it's a neoprene based product. Neoprene is basically synthetic rubber, and so the main ingredients are neoprene, about 12%, certain resins to make it tacky, to make it actually stick, and the rest is solvent. Okay. Now, this is order of magnitude wise, this is true for pretty much any solvent-based adhesive out there. You have your solvents, you have other solid ingredients in there that actually do the bonding. The solvents are just there to get it on the surface. Right. One difference that sets this product apart, though, and that sets all our products apart, is what solvents do we use. And there is a scope that is legal to use. There are solvents that are, chemically speaking, extremely good, but extremely bad for you. Okay. Some of those are banned already. Then there are some that are sort of on the brink, right? I mean, they're still legal, but is it a good idea to use them? I don't know. One of those is toluene. Toluene is a solvent that is known, documented to be very hazardous during pregnancy. Okay. Then again, what is hazardous for unborn babies can't be that healthy for adults. Right. So absolutely. That is certainly something you want to steer away from. Hazardous solvents like toluene, like MEK, especially in small workshops where you don't have good fume extraction. Right. In a factory environment, that's a different story. Right. You can deal with that, but you can put on a mask. You can have ventilation. Right. Right. Yeah. But yeah, so that is something we don't have in here.
Okay.
So it is safer for use. It is not non-toxic,
Right.
but the hazardous chemicals that are in there are less hazardous than the other stuff that's out there. Generally speaking, for all of our products, and we're very open about this, on our website, renia.com, we have all the MSDS sheets, all available for download.
And we have all of them on our website,
Right,
so
right.
if you're buying something from us and you need that information, you can find it either place.
And that is something you should do. If you offer something that has hazardous properties, you have to inform the customer, that's how it is, that's what you can do,
Yeah.
this is how you use it.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Okay, so that is one thing. The other difference is consistency. So the general idea of contact bonding is to get a thin layer of adhesive on both sides, let it dry, and then stick it. Now, in order to do that, it shouldn't be clumpy, it shouldn't be goopy, gooey, whatever, but nice and thin all the way through, basically like this. So this is the consistency you don't just get when you open the can, you get this as you work your way through there, all the way to the bottom. Well, the last little bit might thicken up a little bit, but most of it is going to be like this. You could literally buy 3 cans now, forget 2 on the shelf for a year or 2, and it will be just like that.
Should be like that.
Just the same.
I do notice that your caps are plastic instead of like Barge or Master,
Right.
which are metal. So that probably encourages no solvent
Well, actually,
evaporation.
the solvent evaporation through the plastic caps is a bit higher.
Okay.
So that is basically the only thing that can happen here over time. So over a year, this cap would lose about an ounce of solvent.
Okay.
Order of magnitude that goes through there. So there's 32 ounces in here. So if you left this sitting on a shelf for 10 years,
Yeah.
you would lose about 10 ounces of solvent, and the residual would be very, very, very thick. You could still thicken it, you could still use it, it would still bond. Just getting it on the surface might be a bit of an issue. So you could thin it out, but it's basically the idea there. Well, the reason for the plastic caps is our adhesives would bond metal caps shut
Oh.
very quickly. So
Well, there you go.
this actually is sort of a quality sign here.
It's necessary.
Yep. Well, and it also comes with a brush, which is kind of convenient. Okay, so that's that. Now, another thing we have with this product here, it is efficiency.
Okay.
So efficiency in this case means how much can you actually bond with it? How much surface can you cover with it? And because it is, on the one hand, so thin as far as viscosity goes, but on the other hand, the solid concentration in there is very high. So the amount of stuff that you bond with, that's not the total volume, that's mostly solvent, but the amount of bonding substance in there is higher than with a classic contact cement.
Okay.
So order of magnitude, 3 gallons of this take you as far as about 4.5 gallons of classic contact cements.
Okay.
So you need about 30% less.
Very cool.
In addition, you don't need to buy all that thinner,
Right.
because with some other products, you basically keep pouring in thinner constantly just to keep it workable. And that doesn't happen here. So if we look at the consistency, basically how smooth this goes on, I'm going to coat the whole thing here just a little bit, the edge, but this is pretty much as you need, right?
Yeah.
Not more. One closed layer of adhesive. Now, as a general rule, bonding 101, so to speak, with contact bonding, you need a closed layer on each side in order for it to work. And then you join the pieces and you bond it. So, rule number 1, if this dries and you do not see or feel any adhesive left on the surface, you need to coat it again. Very simple, because the material just kind of sucked down the adhesive. Shouldn't happen much with this because of the higher concentration. So that is another advantage you have, that you need less because you only have to coat once on most materials, even relatively loose badge tans, for instance.
Okay.
Another neat thing about it, And that comes in very, very handy if you're building, for instance, cowboy boots, if you're building or repairing saddles, where something has to be wet molded.
Uh-huh.
This can be applied straight onto wet leather, as in wet, wet. And we're going to demonstrate this real quick. It is pretty wet, right? And moldable. So can go straight onto that. Because in some cases that is necessary. If you want to mold something in shape,
Right.
You cannot always mold it before and then let it dry and then put the adhesive on. That wouldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll just let this sit for a little while.
Do you let that sit before you put the pieces together?
Mm-hmm. So in general, with contact cements, we're talking minutes here. We're not talking like hours on end. We call this the open time. Okay. So open time means, for instance, with top fit, 7 to 40 minutes. That means you have to wait 7 minutes for it to dry. Okay. And then after that, you can bond for up to 40 minutes after application. So 7 plus another about 30 minutes gets you to that 40-minute window. If you want to go beyond that, or if you have to because you glued something at the last minute and then the phone rang and then you had to rush out and I don't know, whatever, right? You come back in the morning and it's all dry. Mm-hmm. So very easy fix, heat it. Get a heat gun and reactivate it. Or, and of course I like that answer much better, put some more glue on. Right. That works just the same.
So you were saying that if, let me make sure I have this right. Mm-hmm. If you wait the 7 minutes and this is completely dry, mm-hmm. that means that the leather soaked it up enough that you do need to apply more. Is that right?
If it is completely soaked up, mm-hmm. right? If there's none left on the surface, then you need to apply more. Yes. Okay. Otherwise, if it seems dry and if it's not even sticky to the touch anymore, that's all right. That's what we're looking for. So a contact cement is not supposed to stick to just about anything. A contact cement is supposed to stick to itself. Right. To the other layer somewhere, right? So you could fold it over or stick it to some other material that's been coated. So that's what we're looking for.
Okay. So this one is, you're still applying it to both sides.
Right.
Okay.
You are applying it to both sides. Okay. Generally, once you touch the two sides, you're stuck. Right. And it's not going anywhere anymore. There are some tricks, because in some cases you need to be able to slide the material a little bit. And in that case, you have to apply it while the adhesive is still wet. Yeah. It's the only chance. It's possible. It's not the optimal way of bonding because it lengthens the final drying time a lot. Okay. Because if you imagine you take materials, like badge 10 leather, for instance, and you have adhesive on both sides and it is still wet and you put the parts together, mm-hmm. First of all, you cannot do this under strain because it will pull up. Right. You cannot mold this in shape. You'd have to sort of clamp it down or weigh it down or whatever, right? Keep it in place. And now what happens is the solvents that could just evaporate to the air straight away in this setup here, now they have to go out through the leather. Right. And that takes a whole lot longer. So we're talking several hours. If that is something you need to do, it's perfectly possible, no problem there, but it will take a while to actually set up.
You just have to know the time frame.
Right. Yeah. That's a little bit different with the acronym. And we'll get to that later. But with the top fit, with the solvents, they have to go out through the material. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. So let's see this one. We're getting there. We're getting there. So and this is something that is just the same thing like with any contact cement. You bring the two surfaces in contact, you press them together, and you get a bond. And that's how that works in general. We didn't reinvent contact bonding here. We just improved it a little bit. Okay, so our wet piece here is still getting there, although this side should already be And it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to show that it works.
So typically, because it is so difficult to glue together wet surfaces, what is does the water in the leather just prevent the solvent from soaking into it because it's already full?
That is one thing, but the main issue is the initial bonding strength that you need to keep that there, right? And many contact cements work with water, but you kind of have to do it the other way around. You have to pre-coat the material, let it completely dry, then put it in the water. Make sure that the surface is sort of clean, maybe even heat it a little bit, and then you can bond. That is not possible in every case.
Right.
So a typical application example, and that's where we actually figured that out with this product, that it is so suitable for that, is channeling. So let's say in boot making, in shoe making, and I'm not gonna do it, I'll just sort of go through the motions. So if this is your leather sole here, and we're talking soling leather, not tooling leather, really strong, thick, hard soling leather.
Yeah.
Sole mats. So what is channeling? Channeling means you cut a channel into the sole, and then you stitch into that.
Right.
Your sole stitch. And then you close the channel over that so you don't see the stitches.
Right.
The stitches are protected and it also looks really neat. Now, in order to do that with that very, very strong soling leather, you can only fold it up when it's wet. You need to wet the sole for that pretty thoroughly. And then when you fold it down, it still has to be wet. Now the problem is, for it to stay folded down, you need some adhesive in there. So in this case, you have no other choice. You need to be able to apply the adhesive to the wet leather, because otherwise you can't get it in there.
Right.
Now, this is the only product that will hold even the strongest soling leather down in that setup, if you do that.
Interesting. Very cool. So this is our Renia top fit. This is on wet leather. So pretty good bond there. Just a dry piece of oil tan. That's a good bond.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so this is the Renia Top Fit 751-12 on this one. Keep an eye out for our other Renia videos.